Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I am Irene Zanetti, Change Manager for the EMA's Veterinary Medicines Division. Focus of today are the Union Product Database functionalities for marketing authorization holders. You can see on the screen the agenda for today's session. After this short introduction, Olivier Simon, the UPD project manager, will provide an overview of the project. Then our colleague Alejandro Plat will give an update on legacy data upload into the system. And Ana Vicente will provide a demonstration of the available functionality for marketing authorization holders. We will then have time for your questions. And during the Q&A session, we kindly ask you to type your questions into the chat. And of course, should you have any additional questions following the webinar, you can email us at vetchange.program@ema.europa.eu. Of course, we will type the email address into the chat. All questions and answers will be compiled in a document and later published on the EMA corporate website, together with today's presentations and recording. Please be reminded that today's webinar is being recorded for training purposes, and it will be made available on EMA website and YouTube account in the coming weeks. So by continuing to be in the session, you are consenting to be recorded. Your personal data will be processed by EMA in accordance with Regulation EU 2018-1725. Should you not agree, we kindly have to ask you to leave the meeting. After this short introduction and without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our colleague Olivier. Olivier, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Irene. Welcome, everyone. So, as Irene already initiated, the purpose of the webinar today is to demonstrate you additional functionality that is relevant for marketing authorization holders, additional to what we already have demonstrated at a previous session. So, next slide, please. Next slide. I'll start giving you an overview of the project and also where we are concretely and what the next steps are for you. So the context of this project is Regulation 2019/6, which I hope you're familiar with. If you go to the next slide, this regulation has become effective in January 2019 and becomes applicable in January 2022, more specifically on the 28th of January, so in 3 days from here. During that 3-year period, we have been working on the requirements, the implementing act, and also, or mainly, putting in place the relevant IT systems to support this new regulation. Next slide. In particular, the IT systems hosted at EMA, so the manufacturing and wholesale distribution database, uniform pharmacovigilance database, antimicrobial sales and use database, and in the center of that, the Union product database, which stores all information on medicinal products. As you can see on this slide, also there's a very tight link between UPD, Union Product Database, and the SPOR systems, SPOR, substances, products, organizations, and references. I'll come back to that in a few slides. Next slide, please. So the objective of our program, what we call the VMP-Reg program, is to put in place the necessary IT systems to support the new regulation. What is not in scope of the program is implementation of revised business processes in member state authorities and industry stakeholder entities. Also, any changes you might require to your IT systems is not in scope of our program. Similarly, quality assurance of the data that needs to be provided to UPD and the other systems is not in scope of our program. That being said, as hopefully you have been able to experience over the last few months and years, really, we have been trying as much as possible to support you and member states in preparing the necessary data and preparing your IT systems via guidance and similar webinars, similar as what we have today. Next slide. During that period of 3 years, we have a governance structure, which you can see here on the slide. More specifically, we have the VMP-REC stakeholders group, where all the industry associations are represented. And we have the UPD product owner group, which consists out of representatives of member state, but also representatives of industry. And this is really the group that has been driving this system, has been driving specifically UPD, because they are the people who have been specifying the requirements, working out with us what exactly needs to be done, and so on. So wherever we are today, and we have made a lot of progress. That is to a very large extent thanks to the people in the product owner group. So if I guess some of those people are here, so please accept my thanks. You guys have done a tremendous job in bringing us where we are today. Next slide. Now, focusing specifically on UPD, the background for UPD is Article 55 of the Regulation 2019/6 that I mentioned earlier. And you have the article here on the screen. More specifically, objectives of UPD are to become the reference database, the common database to collect, store, and provide information about veterinary medicinal products, and also the information on the availability of the veterinary medicinal products. To that end, we have been focusing on using structured data control vocabularies, mainly the controlled vocabularies offered by SPOR, S-P-O-R. Next slide. So what are the main functionalities offered by UPD? For member states, the main functionalities are provisioning functionalities to provide product information. For that, they have a web user interface and an API. And that is on an ongoing basis, but also member states have been very busy providing product information, we call the legacy data, as per Article 155 since July, and that is still a process that is ongoing today. More specifically for industry, there is functionality to provide sales information, availability information, and so on. Today via a web user interface, but we will also make functionality available via the API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a piece of software that is used to allow IT systems to communicate between them. Also, there is a new concept that is introduced by the new regulation, which is variations not requiring assessment. And UPD provides functionality to support those business processes around that. Now, all that information that we have in UPD, because one of the objectives of UPD is to provide more access to information on medicinal product information. So that is why we are publishing selected information that we have in UPD on the public website. Next slide. So in here you find the overview of the different components that we have in the system. Next slide. So what are the categories of product are in scope? It's the authorized products, it's homeopathics, and also the veterinary medicinal products in accordance with Article 5.6. So the information that we have is, of course, product information, but also documents, so SPC, the patient leaflet labeling, assessment report, and so on. Oh, no, not and so on. That's what it is. Then also information on the annual volume of sales, availability information, and information that relates to this new concept that I mentioned earlier, variations not requiring assessment. Next slide. So we have been putting various releases already in production. The very first release was in September last year. The release that people started to use was in July, because that is the release that offered functionality to allow member states to start uploading legacy data. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the release that is planned to go live on 28th of January, actually the release that is already live is release 153. It has been deployed in production has been made available in production on the 28th of January. And that contains all the functionality with exception of parallel trade and homeopathics. I'll come back to that in a few slides. The detailed list of all functionality is available in the release notes, and we will send out the slides to these slides immediately after the meeting, and then you can find the URL where you can find the release notes. It's on the EMA corporate website, and I guess most of you have already been looking at the release notes of previous releases. Next slide. So this release 153 is not the final release. While we were working with the product owners the past year to specify the requirements that we need for this first release, by the way, we call this the MVP, the minimum viable product release. Whilst we were working with the product owners on that release, we identified additional requirements that we need, or more advanced versions of the requirements and so on. Now, because there was a lot, and there still is a lot of time pressure to get the minimum viable product ready by end of this week, that's why we have been systematically adding those additional requirements, or those more advanced requirements, to a requirements catalog for requirements that need to be provided after the minimum viable product release, so after this week. So those are requirements that we will continue working on. However, our focus for the next few releases, for the next few weeks and the next few months, really, is to stabilize the system, to give you user support, improve the quality, improve the performance, and so on. And we estimate that probably 75% of team capacity will initially be allocated to that. So that is why in the first few releases, we will not have that much new functionality available yet. That will come at a later point in time, because we expect that gradually the focus on what we call hypercare, so user support, quality improvement, and so on, that will gradually decrease, so that we can liberate more and more capacity for new development. However, well, as the MAHs have been less exposed to this, but the NCAs are familiar with the way of working, where every 3 weeks we have a new release that we make available in the test and in the production environment. That is what we have been doing since July last year, and we will continue doing this for the next few months, certainly until July. Next slide. On the next slide, you see then the release dates for the next few versions, and also what we plan to deliver in those. So as I already have indicated, the first few releases is really focusing on defect fixes, improving the quality, and so on. The parallel trade and homeopathics functionality, we are not making that available with the first release, end of this week. We currently have that functionality already in test, but we still need to conclude the test. And then, of course, if you test, you will find issues that need to be fixed. So that is why the very first point in time that we'll start to make parallel trade functionality available is with release 162 on the 1st of April. The release after that will then provide more parallel trade functionality, more specifically update of parallel trade information, and also homeopathics. And then there are some other functionalities that we will make available. The requirements catalog that I mentioned earlier, containing additional requirements and more advanced requirements, we have gone through an exercise with the project group, project board, and the product owners to understand what is the most important functionality. So all of the functionalities that we have in that catalog have been prioritized, have been given like a ranking. And we will, or we are already working on developing that functionality in order of that priority specified by the product owners and the project group. And the most important functionality is further automation of variations not requiring assessment, specifically then for the PSMF, QPPV, and product owner information. Also, volume of sales, provision, and view of sales information on deleted packages. So we have already started to work on that functionality. However, it will not be immediately available, mainly for the reason that I explained earlier. We really need to focus the next few weeks, months on improving the quality of the system. And of course, it's fully to be expected that once that we go live, we will identify, or probably you will identify, additional issues. Some of those will be blocking or critical. So that is what the team will work on. And then any time left, we estimate 25% of their capacity, that will be dedicated to developing this new functionality. And of course, what you have here on the slide is really just the initial few releases. There are many more requirements that we have on the requirement catalog that we will start to work on and then gradually deliver in test and in production every 3 weeks. Next slide. Yes, here you find a bit more information on those initial requirements that we are going to provide you with over the next few months. Next slide. Or on the next slide. Yeah, okay, right. Then a bit more information on what's happening next. So on Friday, we will make this release available also for industry. What you need to use this functionality, well, you need a user account. For industry, there are 3 types of user roles, 3 types of user accounts. The first one is UPD Industry Super User. And typically per organization, you would have 1 or 2, we recommend 2 super users. Those are the users that manage all the users within that organization. Then a second type of user is the UPD Industry Edit Search View user. And as the name suggests, those are the types of users that can read and write information, that can modify and create new information. And then the third type is what is sometimes called the read-only user role, UPD Industry Search View. They can only search for product information of their organization, of course, view that, and so on. Now, what is the process to get a user account? Well, first of all, every organization will request a super user account. You can already now start submitting your requests, and actually a lot of organizations have already submitted a request. I had a brief look this morning, and there were already 163 organizations that have requested a super user account. Those that have been submitted the colleagues of the UPD registration team do an initial review to make sure that all the information is there, to make sure that the affiliation letter that you need to provide, that is complete. If it is not complete, if some of the information is not there, then they will inform you or will have informed you of that immediately. All the others are parked for now, and then on the or by the 28th of January, we will approve all of those super user accounts. And that means that from that point onwards, all the other users can send their requests. So all the other users, so the UPD industry edit search view type of users or the UPD industry search view type of users. And the super users can then approve those. Please do not send requests for those two other types of users before the super user is approved. That will not work. So the right order is really as per here on the slide. Request a super user account. The EMA colleagues will approve the super user account, and then all the other users of every organization can submit their request to the super users, and the super users of every organization will then approve those. We strongly recommend to create two super users so that if one of the two super users is ill or on an extended holiday or whatever, that your organization can continue. The detailed instructions of how to do this exactly, you will find this in the release notes, which are published on the EMA corporate website. I refer here to the release notes of version 153. If you look at the release notes, or if you have looked at release notes of the previous versions, you will already have found those instructions there. It's exactly the same. And I think that concludes my part of the presentation. And I hand over to Alejandro, who will give you more information on legacy data upload. If you have any questions, type them in the chat box, and we will, in the meantime, try to reply to them. And if not, there's a Q&A session at the end. Thank you for your attention.
So good afternoon, colleagues. I'm Alejandro, and I will provide here in the slide you are already seeing in the screen a brief summary of the latest report on how the legacy data submission upload is ongoing. So first of all, just to highlight the different three levels in which the information is divided in UPD. So first of all, and just as context information, UPD level 1 refers to the product identifier, which is identifying VMPs at the highest level of granular information, and is based on a set of data which is regarded with regard of common to the product. Then referring to the UPD level 2, which refers to the permanent identifier, is identifying the product on a more granular level with a more detailed set of data, which is nationally specific, such as, for example, where the country in which that VMP was authorized. And as a third point, the UPD level referring to the package identifier and defines the product at package level and is more giving the most granular information. So up to yesterday, and as you can see in the top side of the slide, up to yesterday, you can see that there are on UPD level 1, 8,289 product entries. Then referring to UPD level 2, there are 38,779 product entries, and on UPD level 3, 37,250 product entries. So With 4 days away to the go live, we can state that 95.5% of legacy products have been provided in the UPD with completed core datasets. For example, common datasets as completed for all products, which encompasses product composition, active ingredients and strength, product names, and package information. These figures indeed represent the great effort made by the entire network, not only over the last months, but since the beginning of this project, which is indeed a very important achievement for the European Union to have a single data set on VMPs. So that's all from my side, and happy to take any questions on the chat.
Thank you very much, Olivier and Alejandro. And I would now give the floor to our colleague Ana Vicente, who will give the demonstration over the functionalities. Ana, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Irene. And good afternoon, everyone. I will proceed now with this demonstration of the web user interface. I will in particular demonstrate today the functionalities for variations not requiring assessment and for the provision of marketing authorization status by the marketing authorization holder. So the agenda for this part, or the topics for this part of the presentation, I will give an overview of the marketing authorization status provision by the marketing authorization holder, and then I will proceed with the variations not requiring assessment. I will describe, before going to the web user interface, the three scenarios that I will demonstrate. First one will be a variation that will have an impact in UPD data fields for a national product. The second one will be similar, but in this case, the variation will not have an impact in UPD data. And finally, I will proceed with a submission of a variation that will have an impact in UPD and will be sent for products approved under the centralized procedure. Finally, I will highlight some of the known issues that we have in this version that will be in production from 28th of January, the version 1.5.3. And all these issues you will be able to, you will be able to read all these issues in the release notes that I already mentioned, Olivier, that are published in the EMA website. So the Commission implementing regulation, the implementing act for UPD refers to the functionality for the provision of the marketing authorization status by the marketing authorization holder in its annex, where in the requirement 2.9 refers to the marketing authorization holders shall be able to update the marketing authorization status of their veterinary medicinal products in case of suspension or revocation of the marketing authorizations concerned. So the update of the marketing authorization status will impact two data fields from UPD according to the Chapter 2 of the VET Implementation Guide, and it's the authorization status and the date of authorization status change. And now moving to the variations, the Commission is required under the new regulation to establish a list of changes to the terms of the marketing authorization that do not require assessment in order to be implemented. So these are the variations, and they are listed in the Implementing Act, the Commission Implementing Regulation 2021/17. So in this Implementing Act, we have 130 variations, 8 referring to administrative changes, 108 referring to changes to the quality part of the dossier, 12 changes to the safety, efficacy, and pharmacovigilance part of the dossier, and finally 2 referring to the vaccine antigen master file part of the dossier. Okay, out of these 130 variations, around 70% of them will not have an impact in UPD data. So in this case, the marketing authorization holder will select the variation, and all these variations will be approved or rejected by the NCA, but they will not change anything in the products that we are storing in the Union product database. The other 30% will be changes that will impact manufacturer information, package information, PSMF, QPPB, substance name, ATC bit code, product owner, and then invented name. And we are making here a difference between European data and national data, and that is relevant for products that have been approved under decentralized mutual recognition or subsequent recognition procedures, because European data refers to the data that is equal for all these products that have been approved under the same procedure. So they will be exactly the same. And national data is data that may be different among the different products approved under the same procedure. Next slide, please. Okay, so now this is I will demonstrate 3 scenarios for the variations. The first one, the marketing authorization holder, I will use 2 actors, or there will be always 2 actors. I will use as a marketing authorization holder, Boehringer, and as an NCA, the Spanish agency. So Boehringer will be submitting the variation A4 that is referring to the ATC bit code. And then Spain will approve this variation. Second scenario. Okay, in this case, this is a variation that will not have an impact in UPD data. It's the deletion of a manufacturing process for the active substance or the finished product. This variation will be sent by Boehringer for the same product, and the Spanish agency will approve this variation and will not have an impact in the UPD data. And finally, the scenario 3, Boehringer will send or will submit a variation, both the A4 and the B3B, for 2 products that have been approved under the same decentralized procedure. In this case, Spain, what will do is just will approve the one that is impacting UPD and will reject the one that is not impacting UPD data. So we will do here a partial approval. And finally, some remarks on known issues for variations. These are all captured in the release notes that have been published by EMA. So you can read, and we strongly recommend you that you read before going to the web user interface, that you have a look to this document and you read all the issues that we currently have. So if you encounter any issue and it's not there, you can report to EMA, but most of them are captured in this document, and it will facilitate your work when submitting variations. So I'm going to mention some of them, and I will also demonstrate, or I will show you where are the issues in the system. So the first one is adding more products to the list of variations replaces already existing products. Okay, this one I will demonstrate. So it means that I need to select the products in the second step of the submission of the variation. But if I try to add more to the list, the ones that I have selected in the second place will replace the first selection. So this issue has been solved in the release 154 that will go mid-February on production. And we will show you, or I will let you know how you can a workaround, or how you need to proceed better until we have this issue in place solved. So another issue that we have, these are 3. I have listed in the same because they refer to the same screen. So when retrieving the products in the variation submission, the search, authorization country, authorization status, and product owner are not working properly. Okay, so there are some search criteria that are not working properly, and we will also review them now during the demonstration. Another one is removing variation from one product, remove variations of other product as well. So I will demonstrate this one, or I will explain where it happens, and until this issue is solved. So please try not to remove when you have selected already the products from the submission. Now there is another one, and this is not exactly an issue because the requirements were captured like this, but for the 70% of the variations that will not have an impact in UPD, the marketing authorization holder shouldn't provide the VNIS file. Okay, but the current implementation is expecting as mandatory a VNIS file for all the submissions. So in this case, what we have decided is that the marketing authorization holder will attach an empty file that will be named also as empty.zip, and then it will be ignored by the NCA, by the competent authority. That could be EMA or any of the NCAs. I will demonstrate this one as well. Another one, date of implementation is changed to a common date after submitting the variation if different dates have been input for each combination of variation and product. Another one, these ones are referring to the functionality for NCAs. So the NCA in the 8056 will need sometimes to press several times on the button when it's trying to approve or reject a variation, or even will need to move from one section to another of the web user interface in order to proceed with the decision. And the last one, when a variation has been submitted for a product under DCP, MRP, SRP, the responsibility to update these products or to take the decision is from the reference member state, but currently the system is allowing as well to the concerned member state. So this is, we already told to see the concerned member states, they shouldn't approve or reject the variations, should be the RMS. So I will go now to the demonstration. Katarina, if you can. So I'm going to use two browsers because I will use, I need to open two sessions, one for the marketing authorization holder and the other for the Spanish agency. In this case, this one is for Boehringer. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I will need to log in. So this is a test environment. The data that you will see and the products that we have created are not real data. So you will see inconsistencies or things that maybe make no sense, but this is just because it's the test environment. Okay, this is the UPD portal. I have already logged in as marketing authorization holder, Boehringer, and I'm going to start with the submission of one of the variations, the first scenario. So I will go to submission of a variation. In this case, the process is a three-step process. The first thing that I will need to do as marketing authorization holder is to select the variation. In this case, I will select the change in ATC bit code. Okay, I have selected one. You can select in one submission as many variations as you wish. So I'm going to just to put the example. Okay, and if you want to delete one of the variations, you can also remove from here. Okay, so in this case, this is the selection of the variation. In the second step, I will need to select the product or products for which the variation will apply. Okay, so we have prepared some data. This is a national product for Spain. I will select this one, and here is one of the issues that I was highlighting during the presentation. So some of these filters are not working properly, and they are all listed in the release notes. So please read carefully, and they will be solved in next releases. But for now, there are 3 or 4 that are not working properly. So in this case, I will select my product. And now, as a third step, I will need to provide all the mandatory information that is required for the submission of a variation. So I will need to provide a date of implementation. Okay, I could select 18th of January. So I will need to provide a submission comment. In the submission comment, you can also provide instructions or clarifications to the NCAs or to the competent authority, to EMA. So in this case, okay, I will provide this submission comment. It will apply to all the variations within the submission, meaning that if you have here 3 variations and 3 products, this submission comment will apply to all of them. The date of implementation, the same, it will apply to all the products, but if you have more than one product, you can change individually here. One of the issues that I was referring to is that when you provide different date of implementation for the different products within the submission, the system is changing the date. So it will not reflect the date of implementation that you have inputted. So if possible, at the beginning, maybe you would provide, or you will, the recommendation is that you submit not too many products, so all the date of implementation is the same for all of them. So we have now the date of implementation, we have the submission comment, and finally, because this variation is impacting a UPD data field, you will need to provide a BNIS file. So I will proceed. Okay, in this case, this one. So I have prepared the BNIS file. You will need to add the information related to this variation within the BNIS. If documents are impacted, the same. They will be, all this information will need to be reported within the BNIS. Now, finally, I will summarize. We have selected the variation. We have selected the product. We have provided the mandatory information for this variation. And finally, you need to confirm to the competent authority that you are fulfilling all the conditions from the Commission implementing regulation, from the implementing act. So I will need to check these two boxes, and then I will proceed with the submission. Okay, your variation request has been sent. Now I'm going to log in as the Spanish agency. So I'm here, I'm already logged in. In this case, I can reach my variation or the submission in two ways. The first one is view variations not requiring assessment submissions. So here I have the submission ID. The 91 is the one that I have just, that the Boehringer sent. Okay. Another way is if you go to notifications, the NCA or the competent authority will be able to retrieve also the notification for this submission. Now there is a delay and it can be, okay, it has been on time. So we have here also the variation. So from this notification or either you go to the view variations screen, you can navigate to the content of the submission. So in this case, I will press okay. We need to wait. I have pressed on the name of the product, so I will navigate now to the view of the product. I wanted to press on the ID of the notification. So once that the product is open, I will go back to notifications because what I want to do is to go to the variation. So if I press on the notification on the row, I will get more information on the right side. And in this case, I have a link to the submission by pressing the submission ID. So I will press now, and it will bring me directly to this submission. Since this product is under my responsibility, I will be approving or rejecting this variation. So all the options for approve reject are enabled. The information that I need to provide, I can download the BNIS. So I will press on the BNIS file. Okay, and this is specific to the browser, and I will be able to open the BNIS file and to see all the information that is within this document. I will need to provide a decision comment. The decision comment is optional, but this is recommended to the competent authorities when they are rejecting a variation, just to give a reason to the marketing authorization holder why this variation has been rejected. In this case, it's going to be approved. So because it's impacting national data, UPD data, what we suggest is that they open the product and they do the updates directly on UPD before approving the variation. So in this case, I'm going to perform the update and then I will approve the variation. Okay, this is my product. I'm going to edit the product data. Okay, and if I go back, okay, this is the new ATC bit code. So they are requesting this new one. Then I will proceed with the update of the product. Okay, my request has been sent. It means that the request is in a queue and will be processed. It could take 1 minute or it could take half an hour. So I'm going to copy the operation outcome. And now, since the update of the product has been sent, and most of the time, 99% of the times when you get the green message or the NCA is that has been already processed, I will come to the variation and I will approve. So this is just the date of the decision. This is the information that is mandatory for me. I will approve the variation. Okay, and I will submit the approval. Okay, and this is the issue that I was mentioning before. So sometimes the competent authority will need to press few times or even to go, now it has been processed. So it took me twice to press the button twice. So it has been approved. And this means that the status of the submission has changed. Now it's approved, before was pending. Now I go to the browser for Boehringer and I'm going to check the variation. So view variation submission. Okay, in this case, the ID was 91. It's not here anymore because this variation view is just listing the variations that are pending. So we will need to, or you will need to record the ID, the submission ID, in order to remember or to check again the status of your submission. And this is temporary because we have a post-go-live requirement that will add more functionalities or more search criteria to the this page. You will be able to filter by status and by many other fields. In this case, we don't have, so we need to keep the submission IDs. Is the 91. So I will look for it because I want to check the status. If it's not here, it's because it has been processed, but I don't know if it has been approved or rejected. And now I can see that the status is approved, meaning that all the variations that are within the submission has been approved. Okay, this is the first scenario. I'm going to submit the second one. So we go again. In this case, is the P3B that will not have an impact in UPD data. So first step, I need to add the variation. Second step, okay, I'm going to search now also by permanent identifier. So we use different search criteria. I select the product. This is the second step. And now I will fill in the mandatory information. This is what I was mentioning before. For this variation that is not impacting UPD data, the marketing authorization holder shouldn't provide a BNIS file. Now, you can see that we have an asterisk. So the system is expecting the BNIS file. And in this case, marketing authorization holder, I will need to provide an empty file. I have called it empty zip. And then the competent authority will receive this file and will ignore it because it's called empty and because it doesn't have documents within inside. So date of implementation, 13th of January. Okay, the submission comment is optional again, but the submission comment will also help you to identify your submission in the view submission screen. And now we need to check here the two boxes, and I will submit now the variation. So we have this second one I could go now as well to see if my variation has been already, if it's already in the list. So I am still in the marketing authorization holder session. So we have the 92, the webinar, okay, the one that I was just submitting. So I will go again to the Spanish agency and I will check for the variations. So view submissions, I have 92. And in this case, it's not impacting, so I don't need to do any updates on the products. So I could reject. I will add a decision comment. Okay, date of the decision today, and the author of the decision. So we have all the information. I will submit. And if you can see here, this is the view for the NCA or the competent authority, but the view for the marketing authorization holder, I will show, is exactly the same, but you will not have in editable mode all the fields that are for approval or rejection. So in this case, before I proceed with the decision, if you want to see your information, you can also download the zip file. In this case, it's empty, but if it was with information, you will be able to do it as well. And you will have exactly the same information that the competent authority has, like the Spanish agency that I am using, only that you don't have the options for approve or reject. So in this case, I have everything ready, so I will proceed with the rejection. Okay, so it has been rejected. Now we can see here also the comment, rejection of submission test. If I go to Boehringer, I will go to see my variation. And I will need to search for it. So in this case, it's 92, the submission identifier. And the status is rejected. Okay, the other was approved, this one is rejected. And now we go with the last scenario for variations. So I will submit my third submission. We have the change in the ATC bit code. And we have together the B3B. So we have here two variations, and now I'm going to retrieve the products. In this case, it's DCP, so are the products approved under the same decentralized procedure. So in this case, I have created a product or a decentralized procedure, two products under the DCP. It could be that you have 20. So UPD will not check if you are selecting all the products within the same procedure. So our recommendation here, and I will use like this, just a second, is that you use, in order to search for your products, the product identifier. Okay, as Alejandro was mentioning, the product identifier is the one that identifies the level 1. So if I enter as a search criteria the product identifier, it will retrieve all the products that have been approved under. So let me see, maybe I'm product identifier. Okay, let me just check for the product. Maybe I'm introducing. Okay. Okay, I'm going to copy the identifier, product identifier. So this is the products. So if I search by product identification number, it should retrieve the two products that are under the same decentralized procedure. So it's taking time, but it should, apparently it's not working. The product identifier maybe is one of the fields that are not working properly. So let me do something else. Okay, so I'm going to log out. Sometimes you will need to log out and log in just to refresh. Okay, I log in as Boehringer once more. Let me check. This is Boehringer, the marketing authorization holder, as you can see on the right side, and it should work, the product identifier. So I will try again, just entering the product identifier. Otherwise, is one of the fields that is not working, and it should be in the release notes. But okay, this is for Boehringer. So here we are. I'm going to start again with the submission for the third scenario. Now I will retrieve the product. Let's see now, product identifier. Okay, now it's working. So sometimes you will need to log out, log in. Maybe it's because it's losing the key of the user. But I think it will be something that I will report today. But okay, we have the two products, and this is what I was mentioning before. So if you have 20 products under DCP or an MRP, the recommendation is that you use the product identifier just to select all the products and that you don't miss one in the list. So in this case, I select the two products, and now I will proceed to with the mandatory information. Date of implementation, okay, I will use 10th of January. Submission comment, same of the two variations. The one that is impacted is the ATC bit code. And I think, yeah, we have the submission comment. Okay, in this case is for the DCP. I will select now the beneath file. And now I will press on the commitment. And I will submit the variations. So we have the variation has been sent. I go now to the browser, to the Spanish agency, and I will go to view the variations. Okay, this is 93, so I will open. In this case, we have one variation that is impacting and the other one not. So variation B3B rejected. Here, I should provide a clarification why I am rejecting this variation. So this is the B3B, I will reject, and the other ones I will approve. But first, I need to do the change in the UPD. So in this case is DCP, and I will select just a second the Spanish product because the reference member state is Spain. So let me reject this B3B. And since I am the reference member state, I will need to update the common part. The ATC bit code belongs to the common part of the product. So I will need to update for all the products approved under the procedure. So I will go to edit common data. Okay, and in this case, okay, it's paracetamol. I think I was wrong when adding the other ATC bit code, but in this case, I will change for paracetamol, codeine, and paracetamol. So this is the change. Okay, and then I will proceed with the update. Now, again, we have the same. The request has been sent. It means that the product has been updated, or it will be in the next 20 minutes. And then I need now to approve and reject the variations. So coming back to the variations, now I can say that I can approve those two variations. Okay, I need to enter the author of the decision. I could change, maybe the B3B is the variation, it's deal with another colleague. So if this is another colleague, I can update here if the decision was made by another person. So this is the author of the decision, and the date of the decision the same. So I have mentioned already that we have some issues with the dates and some of the fields that I am updating now, and they are all documented in the release notes. So I have now all the information. The date of the decision, now it will apply to the 4 products, but I will be able, if I want, to change also the date of the decision here. So if it's different, you can update on individual basis. So for example, this one, 17th of January, this is the B3B, and I will do the same here. Okay, we have all the information. In this case, the B3B has been rejected and the other one has been approved. So I will proceed with the submission. Okay, now it has been processed, and I will go, or Boehringer will go to check the variation. Now we know that is the 93, so I will enter the submission ID. And in this case, the status of the submission will be partially approved. Partially approved means, here is partially approved, that some variations have been approved and some variations have been rejected. Another way to see the status of the variations is via the notifications. So notifications, we have some delay sometimes. So now you see these ones that are pending, and you should receive also the notifications for the ones that have been approved and the ones that have been rejected. So it could be that is like we see now, that first you see on the variations not requiring assessment screen, these ones. It is always first in the other screen and sometimes takes more time for the notifications. And I'm mentioning this just in case you go to the notifications and you cannot see the same information that is in the variation submission screen. So it will take a bit of more time for the notifications. But in this case, you will see here. Now, this one, for example, that has been rejected, if I press on top, okay, I have the decision comment. So if the competent authority is explaining in the decision comment why it has been rejected, you will be able to read from the notification. Okay, and this is the 3 scenarios for variations. Now I will go to demonstrate how the marketing authorization holder, Boehringer, can change the marketing authorization status to suspend it or revoke. So this is other post-authorization data. You see that we have here the option where you will be able to provide a volume of sale, availability status, and marketing authorization status. So I will go to the first option. I will search for my product. Okay, so in this case, I will select the product for which I want to update the marketing authorization status. In this case, it's valid, and I want to change or to update to suspended. And as marketing authorization date, this is the marketing authorization date change. So imagine that was changed 16th of January. So I will submit, and marketing authorization status update sent for product. This is like before. It means that the request has been sent, and it could be that it's processed in 1 minute or in 20 minutes. So we are going to check in any case the product. So you go to search. We are going to search for the product, and we will see it has been updated or not. In any case, just to mention that any functionality, any action that you perform or any change that you do to a UPD product will trigger a notification. So we will go now to see also the notifications. It could take more time, but maybe it's already there. So let's see. First we search for the product and then we go to the notifications. So in this case, I will search by name. Okay, and the status has been already updated to suspended. You can see here. Now the product is suspended. And if I am the Spanish agency, I will receive a notification. You will receive as well as marketing authorization holder. So we check now. It could be that it's not there because it takes some time, but it could be that it's already here. Okay, in this case, it's not here yet. So, but it should be here afterwards. Okay, this is the demonstration for the UPD for the two functionalities that we have prepared today. And I will highlight two more things before we finish with this demonstration. So in the presentation, in the previous presentation, we have prepared for you also a list of supporting materials that are not only at EMA, but also prepared by CNDB. We have information like Q&As for industry, the variations not requiring assessment Q&As, variations requiring assessment Q&As, work sharing of variations, the UPD implementation guide, the BMP Rec newsletters, bite-sized videos to be published at EMA website. So this is we are preparing short videos of 2, 3, 4 minutes for functionalities on UPD portal. So all the things that I was showing today will be split in short videos and will be available from 28 on EMA site. We will share, we have not prepared all the scope, all the functionalities, but we will be just enriching this list of videos for you. But some of them will be already available from the 28th. We have also best practice guides from CNDB. You have the link. And also to mention and to highlight that CNDB will prepare and will be published in their site a list of contacts per NCA. So if you encounter any issue, you can contact directly the NCAs. For example, I forgot to mention during the variations, in case you go to submit a variation, for example, for the decentralized procedures, you are for a decentralized procedure, you are expecting to see there are 7 products because are 7 countries and you see only 6, please contact the NCA because maybe the NCA or didn't publish the national information of this product, meaning you're the product owner and then you cannot see the product, or maybe it's just a matter of changing the product from the status. So please contact the NCA if you don't see your products and they will prioritize that these products are in UPD. But it could happen. And that's why it's important that you also have this list of NCAs or competent authorities. So UPD release notes, really important document. Most of the issues that are in the web user interface are there documented, and also they have a code. So you can track with EMA just the status of these issues. And then support after go live, BMP Rec program will provide dedicated post go live support. So if you encounter system related issues, you need to submit them to EMA service desk from 28th of January. And you can use also the mail box, the UPD user support. So if you have regulatory queries, you can write to ask EMA. And if you have other issues or questions, you can write to BED change program that will be moved later in late 2022 to ask EMA, but for now it will be working. So that's the presentation, Irene, Katarina.
Thank you very much, Anna. There were a number of questions asked during the session, many of which have already been answered by colleagues, but I would start taking as many as we can in this 20 minutes, and all the others will be responded afterwards. And today we will also share the presentations with participants, so rest assured that you'll have those. So there is a question regarding variations not requiring assessment and whether it will be possible to include future dates as the implementation date. Will the system allow that?
Yes, it will. We are not restricting the values there, and this is also in the best practice guides from prepared by CNDB. It's explained that sometimes you will need to provide a future date because there is an parallel ongoing VRA, a variation requiring assessment. So yes, we will allow for that. So you can align the dates of the two variations.
Thank you very much. You probably mentioned that already, but just to have all participants note that, when will the release note for the version 1.5.3 be available on the website, more or less?
Okay, I think we have Olivier. Maybe you have the answer. I thought that they were today or tomorrow, or
Sorry. It's in the process of being published, so it's a matter of a few hours. It should be there late this afternoon, anytime now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Then there are a lot of questions regarding grouped submission. Is it possible to submit more than one VN in a submission for a product, or to submit several VN for different products together?
okay, maybe I didn't explain. You can submit many variations. So I'm going just to show something that maybe will clarify. This is a Boehringer. So variations, you can select many. It doesn't matter. You can select as many as you wish, but they will need to apply if you select 3 products or 20 products. The rule is that all the variations will need to apply to all the products that you select. So for this minimum viable product version that we are delivering from the 28th, the restrictions are here. Which products can you select from UPD? So we have here the rule. So the product selected must belong to the same responsible authority. And this is with the exception of MRPs, DCPs, and DCPs, MRPs, and SRPs.
Anna, excuse me to interrupt you. We are still seeing the any questions screen. So if you want to share, maybe we give you presenters right.
Sorry.
No.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Just a second, and we'll give you the presenters right.
Yes, I thought that you could see. So
you may share now.
okay.
You may share now.
Okay. Yes, because I think that's important, and I didn't mention. So I will come back. So variations, you can select as many as you wish, and all of them, I can select here the whole list, the 130. But if you select one product or 2 products, all these variations that you have selected here will apply to all the products. So it cannot be that the variation A1A applies to the first product and the C2 to the second product. No, all the variations that you select will apply to all the products. Now, we have restrictions when retrieving products, and they are highlighted here in this yellow part. So all the products selected must belong to the same responsible authority. If I am submitting variations for Spanish products, and I will not consider in this sentence the DCPs, MRPs, and SRPs, all of them need to belong to the same responsible authority, in this case, the Spanish agency. Or if I am sending for centralized products, all of them will be from European Commission EMA products. We cannot mix, again, competent authorities, the products. Now, if we are submitting variations for products approved under DCP, MRP, or SRP, the rule here is that all of them need to share the same product identifier. So in the case that I was mentioning before, there were 2 products under the same procedure, DCP. I can select those 2 products, okay, but I cannot select another decentralized procedure. This is post-go live requirement. It will come in the future, but for the moment, you will need to submit these products one by one, so linked by the product identifier. If all of them share the same product identifier, is okay. If not, you will not be able to proceed with the submission. I hope it's clear, or
I believe so. Thank you, Anna. Then a participant asked regarding whether there will be any proof of delivery other than the confirmation on the screen, I believe, of the successful operation.
Okay, for now we have the message on the screen, and then you will receive a notification, and you will be able to go to the variations screen, and so it's really quick. So you will see there your variation. If you see the variation on the list is that has been submitted, if does not appear is because you have an issue. But really for the last 4 months, all the submissions that I have tested, they always appear on the variation list. And they do before than we receive the notification. But you will have both things, notification and submission screen.
Perfect, thanks a lot. The next question is whether the comment field replaces the cover letter.
I don't think so. Okay, and in here I don't understand. Maybe there is more guidance in the best practice guides of CNDB, but the submission comment, I don't. You need to provide all the information. I am not really sure, so I will say something, and then we can check more internally. But the submission comment will not. It's not the same. So you will need to provide the information on the changes in the Venice file. And also in the submission comment. And more guidance is in the best practice guides from CNDB. But in any case, I will check internally and we will provide a more proper answer to this one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna. Regarding the date of approval, where will that appear?
Yes. So let me show you. It will appear on the submission. So you will be able to open again and you will see all the detailed information and when was approved. So if we go to the 91, the first one that was approved. So the information and the Venice file will be there, so you can come back anytime to see the status of the variations or the Venice file. In this case, just let me open and I will show you. Okay, so the summary table, date of implementation, date of decision, 25th of January. So it's here. Date of approval is the date of the decision, 25th of January.
Great, thank you, Anna. A question regards whether all users of a company can see the approval or rejection of the VNRA or only the user who had submitted the variation.
No, in this case, if you have the role for this organization, you will be able to see the submission. So for this product, if you are Boehringer and you have a role for Boehringer, you will be able to open this submission. So it's linked to the role of the organization. You have a role for UPD and you are linked to the organization of Boehringer, you are able to see this submission.
Perfect, thank you. Is the field decision comment mandatory when a VNRA is rejected to help marketing authorization holders to understand the reasons?
No, it's optional, it's recommended. And more importantly, when it's rejected.
Perfect, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through the questions because many were already responded to. Where can marketing authorization holders see the reasons of the rejection? I believe in the decision comment, if information is provided.
Is the only way to see why it was rejected. Yeah.
Thank you. Is it possible for a marketing authorization holder to have a global view of the status of all the VNRAs submitted for their portfolio?
Not at the moment. So if you go to the variation submissions, what you will see is the pending ones. Post go live, yes. When we have all the filters in the search form, yes, because you will be able to filter out the ones that are pending, approved, partially approved. You will be able to see all of them in this screen and to play with the filters. But currently you will see only the pending ones. And if you want to see the status of one that has been already processed by the competent authority, you will need to enter here the submission ID. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. One question concerns how to find the product identifier for their product.
The product identifier, okay, that's is not easy if you don't know, but okay, this is in the product information. So in this case, we were using this one. When you go to the view, okay, this is, I have searched for the product, and this is for all the products. You have the table. When you press on the row, you have more detailed information on the right side. So you have the product identifier that is the one that is grouping, level 1, and you have the permanent identifier, the level 2. Okay, also if you go to the view of the product, just pressing on the hyperlink on the name.
Thank you very much. Then a question concerns whether there will be a written user guidance for VNRA submission for industry as of the UPD go live.
No, what we have for the variations not requiring assessments is the Q&As that have been prepared by EMA and the best practice guide that has been prepared by CNDB. So apart from this guidance, EMA has not prepared any other document. For variations, for other post-authorization data, we have the Chapter 7 from the BET implementation guide, and there are the specifications for the provision, as I was mentioning, for the provision of the volume of sales, availability status, and marketing authorization status. But variations is what has been prepared by the colleagues from the bedside EMA, the Q&As, and the best practice guide from CNDB.
Thank you. And of course, colleagues are welcome to reach out to us via the support routes described by Anna in her presentation, should anything not be detailed and they need additional clarifications. One question concerned that you've already mentioned that in the system it's possible to set the date in the future, but can the date be set in the future also, say, 1 year in the future? Or is there any
Yes.
limits?
No, there is no limits, but it's up to the competent authority to approve or reject if something is not correct on the data. But we don't have restrictions, so UPD doesn't have any limits.
Perfect. No limits. Thank you.
No.
Then a participant is asking whether it is possible now or in the future to export all information present in the UPD for a marketing authorization holder. For example, a list of their products, product information, the list of VNRAs approved, rejecting, or pending in a file, for example, a CSV or another Excel compatible format.
So all the information, even related to variations, that's not possible, and we didn't expect this even in the post-go live requirements, meaning all the information, the UPD for the products, plus the variations and all this information. What we have currently is the export functionality. So I don't know if I do the search without filters from Boehringer, what you can export today, okay, is the list of your products that are in UPD. So in this case, I have now 345. You can set up the page to 100 results. By default, you will see 20 results. You can increase to 100, and then you can export each 100 results. So in this case, we have here 100, you export, and this is a CSV file with the information that you see on the table. It's not the complete information for UPD products, but you can see here, it has been already open, is the CSV file with the information that you see on the search screen. Okay, you need to format, of course, but you will have at the moment this information. So if I want the 200, the next products, I just go to the next page and I export the following 100 products, and like this until I get the 345. And you will have all the list of products that you have in UPD. Ready, Irene?
Thank you. Okay, all questions related to the number of products expected and/or in the UPD. Those were addressed in Alejandro's presentation. which you will also find, and we will provide updates also, and you will be able to see as soon as you have access specific information for your products. There is also a question regarding whether all products that are approved by EMA have been uploaded into the UPD.
Yes, they are. They are already in production.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
Then one question concerns whether the person for a marketing authorization holder submitting VNRAs will also be able to see the volume of sales of data, or that can be limited. I guess that can be, the question is whether that can be restricted.
No, at the moment, if you have for volume of sales for the view, if you have the roles for the products that are under one submission, you will be able to view the volume of sales. So we don't have a specific roles for volume of sales, for variations. We have some post MVP or post go live requirements, but currently for the version, the 153, nothing of this is implemented. So currently we have just generic users for the organizations, and if you have the role for the products that are within one submission, you will be able to see those ones, those submissions.
Perfect, thank you very much, Anna. I would take one last question for now, as we are getting to a close. And the question is whether, in case a product is currently not present in the UPD, what should MAH do if the product needs to be part of a VNRA? And as Anna has mentioned it, there will be the list of contact points within the NCAs will be provided, so that marketing authorization holders can reach out to national competent authorities and let them know that they should prioritize the upload of the product into the UPD because a VNRA is needed. If you want to add anything, Anna, here.
No, it's like this. Thank you, Irene.
Okay, perfect. There are more questions, but as we mentioned, we will reply to those in writing and circulate them and publish those on EMA website together with the recording and all materials. We will also share the presentations with all of you soon today. We really hope that you found this session useful. I would consider so in light of the almost 700 participants and the number of questions raised. And we hope that this was helpful towards your preparedness for Friday's Go Live. I would like to thank very much our colleagues Ana, Olivier and Alejandro for their presentation, demonstration and all clarification provided, and all the attendees for your active participation in today's session. Please reach out to us via email at vetchange.program@ema.europa.eu should you have any additional questions or requests for clarification after the session. Thank you once more, and we wish you a lovely day. Goodbye.